So I started drinking caffeine when I was in my teens. I don't remember exactly what age, but probably in my mid-teens. I was drinking coffee and energy drinks and things like that. But it wasn't until I was in my 20s where I decided that I wanted to stop. And I'll get into why, but if I had to boil it down to a simple statement, basically when I pictured two different future versions of myself, one that drank caffeine and one that didn't, I wanted to be the one that didn't drink caffeine. The main reason is probably because I don't like being reliant on something external. Like I like a lot of the teachings in Buddhism, because in Buddhism they teach you that happiness doesn't come from the external world, it comes from your inner world. And so that's one of the main reasons I wanted to quit caffeine. And then also at the time I was keeping a dream journal and I wanted to do kind of an experiment to see if quitting caffeine would help me dream, or either dream better or help me remember my dreams. And spoiler alert, I don't really think it helped in regards to my dreams, so that's too bad. Now, caffeine is interesting as a drug. You make a lot of jokes about people's addiction to it, like how you hear people say, oh, don't talk to me until I have my coffee. But if you replace coffee with literally anything else like beer or wine, like don't talk to me until I've had my morning wine, then all of a sudden it becomes a problem. But I'm not making this video to make it sound like caffeine is this horrible thing for you. I think it's a pretty benign substance, but I do want to kind of give a different perspective on it and my own experience with it. I would find that I would go through this cycle being that I would start consuming more and more caffeine throughout the day, like multiple cups of coffee, maybe some energy drinks here and there. And so I'd become so desensitized to it that I'd have to take a break. And so after maybe a few days of feeling like crap, feeling like a zombie, and getting myself resensitized to caffeine, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, now 1 cup of coffee makes me feel good. And that's all I need is just 1, maybe 2 cups of coffee. But then as the days or weeks went on, I would need more and more. And so I'd be right back to where I started, where I'm not really even feeling anything. And I would have to take another break. So it was just like this endless cycle, and I decided I didn't want to participate in that cycle anymore and just break it. So yeah, I just really didn't like how dependent I was on caffeine to feel happy. Back in 2021, I actually took a 90-day break from caffeine, and what inspired me to take that break was I was visiting a good friend of mine, and every time we left my friend's house, I would always be like, oh, we have to stop here and get coffee. We have to stop here and get coffee. So the whole vacation became me wanting to get coffee to feel like I was enjoying myself, my limited time on my vacation with my friend. And so for me, that was kind of a wake-up call. Like, why is this substance controlling my life so that I can't even enjoy my vacation with my friend who I never get to see? And also, if anyone in the audience is into tarot, I went through a tarot phase around this time, and I had pulled the devil card 2 times in a row. And you can argue that maybe I didn't shuffle the deck well or something, but I pulled the devil twice in a row, and it didn't make sense until after I got back from that vacation with my friend, because I realized, oh, I pulled the devil twice right before the vacation where I realized that I should probably quit caffeine. So I thought that was interesting. And look, also I realized that not everyone is going to have an issue with caffeine like I have had. I know people that they can just take it or leave it. You know, maybe they have coffee each day because they like the taste or they like the ritual, but they genuinely don't care if they get it or not. Like, they can do it without it. And that just wasn't me. I always needed to have it first thing in the morning and have it continuously throughout the day in order to feel whole, to feel satisfied. So what was the withdrawal period like? Well, it was absolute hell, to be honest with you. The first week, all I wanted to do was sleep for like the whole first week. And thank goodness that I was working from home at the time, because when I didn't have anything to do, I would go take a quick nap. And I don't know what I would have done if I had a job where I had to be alert, because I was anything but. And so it wasn't just that week that it was hard and then it was all over. If I remember correctly, I believe it took me 72 days until I felt like my energy levels were back to normal. And if that sounds like a crazy long time to get over withdrawal, if you visit the decaf subreddit, which I do recommend, it helped me through my journey quitting caffeine, you'll find that a lot of the people on there, it takes them months to feel back to normal. I should make a caveat here, because back in 2021 when I quit for these 90 days, I was going through some pretty difficult personal stuff, and so maybe that made it take longer for me to feel back to normal. It's hard to say. Another reason why I think it's a good idea to quit caffeine, the way caffeine works, like the reason why caffeine makes you feel alert is, so there's this chemical in your brain called adenosine, and there's adenosine receptors in your brain. And so as time goes on throughout the day, the adenosine receptors collect more and more adenosine, making you more and more tired. So the chemical caffeine, when you consume it, it physically blocks those adenosine receptors, and that's why you don't feel tired, is because the adenosine is no longer physically able to get into the receptors. And so once I started looking at it like that, it kind of feels strange. Like if your body's telling you that you're tired, and you're like, nah, I'm just gonna literally block the sleepy chemical from getting in so I don't feel tired. There's just something that feels weird about that, and it makes me not want to put it in my body as much. So yeah, I had quit caffeine for 90 days back in 2021, and I did go back to caffeine. And I even had, when I had that first cup of coffee again, I took it knowing that there was a really good chance that I would go back to having it every day, even though I didn't want to. I knew that I'd get hooked again, or that there was a really good chance. And what do you know, surprise, surprise, I ended up going right back to drinking it every day. But then I stopped again at some time last year, and so now I'm on day 273 of being caffeine free. Although I do have decaf coffee usually on weekends, because I do still like the taste of coffee. Some people that quit caffeine, they'll stay away from decaf because decaf still has a little bit of residual caffeine in it. But that's where I draw my line. Decaf coffee is fine, but I don't drink caffeinated sodas. So like if I want Coke or Pepsi, I'll get the decaf version. And I also don't drink caffeinated tea. That's just me. So you're probably wondering if I notice any benefits from quitting caffeine. And I'd say the biggest one for me, honestly, is just not feeling like I need this external thing to feel satisfied. I like that each morning I get up and go to work and caffeine doesn't even cross my mind. And, you know, as a bonus, it also is a money saver because I'm not going to Starbucks all the time like I was before. And another benefit definitely is that I'm less anxious being off caffeine. When I was in my early 20s, there was no such thing as too much caffeine. Like, when I had a caffeine overdose, I would basically just get lightheaded. But a few years ago, I went through some shit and I started to get panic attacks. And ever since I started having panic attacks, now, if I were to have a cup of coffee, like just one cup of coffee, gets me all anxious, and then I feel like, oh, am I gonna have a panic attack? So I don't miss that. I definitely don't, I'll tell you that. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you guys and say that there aren't days where I want caffeine. It's not like I don't get super bad cravings or anything, but like if I don't get a lot of sleep the night before and I'm at work and I'm just, you know, I'm tired, I didn't get enough sleep, I don't have that simple hack anymore of just, oh, let me just drink this beverage and then suddenly feel wide awake. So sometimes it's a little tempting because you want something to just wake you up, but having in mind everything I talked about in this video, it makes me feel like, oh no, I'll just find a natural way to wake myself up or find a way to get some extra sleep. Yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. Let me know if you're considering quitting caffeine or how your journey is going. I make no exaggeration when I say that quitting caffeine was one of the most difficult things that I've ever had to do. The withdrawals were just insane. So I wish you guys the best of luck. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.